Hey everybody who's joined so far, thanks so much for joining. We'll get started at the top of the hour here in just about 3 to 4 minutes here. Going to give everybody a chance to log in. If you do have any questions, please feel free to put them in the QA chat. Thanks again for joining, and we'll get started soon. Hey everybody, happy Friday to you all, and good afternoon and good morning, depending on where you are. We're really excited to be bringing you the Staffing Tech Stack Alliance on how to improve your staffing tech stack in 2020. We're going to go ahead and get started, everybody. Before I jump in with introductions, just so you all know, we are going to leave time for a Q&A after this, and there is a Q&A chat function on your navigation bar where you can chat in questions that we can address and do our best to address live throughout the conversation today. My name is Josh Byrne. I am the Director of Enterprise Sales here at TextUs. I'm really pumped to be bringing you 4 really incredible panelists today to contribute to our conversation. With us today, we have Travis Arnold, who is the CMO and co-founder at Herefish, David Falwell, who is the president and founder at Staffing Referrals, Adam Conrad, who is president and founder at Great Recruiters, and of course we have David Dean with us, who is SVP of Sales and Marketing at Wanderly. And just wanted to take a few seconds to say thanks to all of you for joining us live today. TextUs is quite excited and honored to be hosting and moderating this panel today. I did want to take an opportunity. We have about 2/3 of the registrants on the line are TextUs customers, and thought this would be a really great opportunity to remind everybody on the phone today that TextUs does have 3 new products that we're very excited to be rolling out over the last few months, and wanted to encourage all of those current TextUs customers to reach out to their account managers if they have not had an opportunity to learn about TextUs Voice and TextUs Click to Dial, as well as upgrading to our new platform, TextUs Next. So if you haven't, it's a great opportunity to reach out to your account manager and learn how other staffing and recruiting companies in our community are already leveraging these technologies. And if you're not yet a customer of TextUs, please feel free to reach out to me after the call. Just want to provide a little bit more information before we kick off the discussion today on who our partners are and the softwares and technologies that they're proud to represent. Obviously, many of you know who TextUs is. Excited to have Great Recruiters on the line with us. Great Recruiters will help you protect your reputation and build trust with real-time reviews and teach you how to put your feedback to good use. Staffing Referrals is going to help you get more placements by automating your referral program. We also have Herefish joining us, which is going to help you automate workflows, use cases, processes, and communication throughout the recruiting recruiting cycle, and ensure that you're tying that back into the ATS. We also have Staff Up app with us, which will help you meet candidates where they are and modernize your candidate engagement via your own branded mobile app. And last but not least, we do have Wanderly, which will help you transparently increase your exposure to talent, increase placements, and improve relationships. So we have just some high-level goals for today that we hope you all will walk away with and that we will be going through and discussing. We will obviously be going through what we mean by tech stack and show you how you can perfect your own tech stack, providing tools and solutions that not just help you select the right technology, but help you ensure that all your software and technology is talking to each other and you're optimizing that strategy. We'll go through all 4 components of the talent lifecycle methodology and talk about where those softwares should lie on that methodology at each stage of the candidate journey. And most importantly, we'll be spending most of the time going over some of the biggest problems that all of you on the phone today in our staffing community are facing, and how we can turn those problems into solutions and create competitive advantages against our competition. So a high-level agenda, like I said, we'll define what that tech stack means. We'll introduce you all to that talent lifecycle methodology, go over strategies and solutions to put in place to ensure that you are selecting the right technology for your business. Again, we'll spend most of the time going over those industry challenges that you see there, and of course, we'll be going over that key takeaway that we want all of you to walk away with. Now, the big question before we get started on the discussion is, why now? Why did all of you take some time out of your Friday to join the Tech Stack Alliance and learn a little bit more about it? And we here think the answer is pretty obvious. The war for talent is increasing. The war for good recruiters is also increasing. And the companies that are staying ahead of the curve and winning right now are ones that are able to embrace the digital transformation. And not just embrace the digital transformation, but understand how it applies to their specific business and understand how to scale it out so they're optimizing the ROI that they're getting out of all of that technology and ensure they're setting their recruiters up for the most success. And so with that, we're going to go ahead and kick our discussion off with our first panelist. I'm pleased to introduce David Falwell from Staffing Referrals.
Hey, Josh. Thanks so much for having me on the call. Super excited to be here. Excited to be talking with all of you today. I appreciate you guys taking time out of your day. So first of all, we're talking about the staffing tech stack quite a bit. The way we've defined this as a set of technologies, software, and tools used by staffing firms to manage and scale their business operations. A lot of staffing firms would consider this their technology ecosystem or their tech strategy. So that's what we'll be talking about today. So when it comes down to looking at how kind of historically staffing firms have looked at their tech stack and looked at recruiting, we've got to have a set of tactics that have been used historically that we think are going to change over time. First of all, it's analog referrals or traditional word of mouth, sourcing from the same talent pool as your competition, looking at counting your smile and dials and how many cold calls you have, not worrying about your online reputation or just accepting that the online reputation isn't what you want it to be. Also looking at like a slow or manual qualification process, and then a web-based job board. And today we're going to be talking about what we consider the new way, and really what we look at what early adopters and more so just digital adopters are going to be taking advantage of over the next few years. And what we really believe, or I know I personally believe, is that in the next 2 to 3 years, 70 to 90% of staffing firms are going to be using the majority of these tactics, and the firms that aren't adopting these tactics are at risk of being left behind. So a few of the things that we're going to be talking about throughout our presentation today. One is automated referral management, which will help you scale your referral program and get more referrals from your current talent pool. 2, alternative sourcing channels, looking at how can you source talent from different ways and get outside of the same talent pool that your competitors are using. We're also going to be looking at the shift from cold calls to text messaging and click to call, as well as moving to active reputation management instead of passive reputation management. And lastly, we'll be talking about automated qualification and recruiter marketing, as well as the shift and need for a mobile app for direct sourcing. So to start off, why does your tech stack matter? Really what it comes down to with your tech stack is we're seeing staffing firms improve productivity and beat the competition. And they're doing this because the Tech Stack Alliance helps you improve speed to market, it helps you scale your business faster, helps you differentiate your brand, and it automates processes. So what is the Tech Stack Alliance? Over the last year, we've been trying to figure out how can we be a better partner and better solution provider for staffing firms. So we created the Tech Stack Alliance as a collective of best-in-class software providers for staffing firms. And really what we know is that we have a lot of people on this call that have been in the staffing industry for upwards of 15 years, some that have helped with digital transformations. And we know that there are a lot of tools to select from. There's a lot of technology that's being put in place, and it can be confusing and difficult to identify what to use and when to use it. And our mission is to make selecting and integrating the right software partners as simple and easy as possible. And we want to make sure that you have the right partners in place so that you're able to beat the competition. So throughout the call today, we're going to be introducing the talent lifecycle methodology. And really, this is a business process that helps you identify and qualify talent and turn them into placements. As we're going through the presentation, you'll see that the different technologies will be tied to the different stages of the talent lifecycle methodology. So we'll be talking about sourcing, qualifying, placing, and renewing. And with that, I'm going to pass it back off to Josh so he can talk about a tool that you can use that will help you with your tech selection process.
Yeah, guys, I'm really excited that we're going to have the opportunity to share this resource with everybody. This is something that all of us collectively have put together, and really it's designed to be a resource for all of you to simplify the selection process when it comes to selecting software. I think it's pretty apparent that software can cost a lot of money, and it's a very big impact on our business. We need to ensure that we're selecting it properly. And this spreadsheet will give you a consistent framework and a comprehensive framework that you can use to evaluate all of your technology in the same manner. And again, we'll be emailing this out to all registrants after the webinar as well. Now let's get to the fun stuff and why all of you came on the call today, the challenges that we're going to be going over. The panelists are all prepared to talk about each one of these, which is, we all know finding candidates is more difficult than ever, and quite frankly, it's getting more and more difficult day by day. Recruiters don't have enough time because of a lot of manual processes create really inefficient communication strategies. Getting a hold of those candidates that are very hard to find are even harder to then get a hold of. And the ones that can, and the firms that can execute on speed to market are going to be the ones that are going to stay relevant. And all of these things lead to problem number 4, which is, this is why recruiters and staffing firms get such a bad rap and sometimes can be considered transactional, because we're not allowing the recruiters to do what they do best. And lastly, we don't provide enough transparency as part of our staffing firms when we're reaching out to candidates and really across the entire candidate journey. And how can we become more trusted advisors, and how can software allow us to do that? So with that, I'm actually going to kick things back over to David Falwell here to address challenge number 1. So Dave, take it away.
Thanks again, Josh. So to start off, we're going to talk about finding qualified candidates, and we're going to start off with a case study briefly to show you how one firm has solved this, and then we're going to tell you some specific tactics and tools on how they've used the Tech Stack Alliance to solve these problems. So let's go ahead and jump in. So CCS Construction Staffing started working with us a few years ago, and they've implemented the majority of the tech stack, including Staffing Referrals, Great Recruiters, Staff Up App, and TextUs. And just from referrals alone, they have placed 487 placements. And in the first 3 months, they saw placements go up by 27% by using the Tech Stack Alliance. So it's a great example of how using technology can move your company ahead and help differentiate your brand. So when it comes to finding candidates, here's how a few of the ways that they used our tech stack. So number 1, they implemented an automated referral management platform, which I'd highly recommend. If you guys don't have an automated referral management platform, I would suggest taking a look at it. What we typically see is that with a referral management platform, you can get up to anywhere from about a 20% up to about a 60% increase in referrals, usually in the first 90 days. And really what we're doing when we are implementing a referral management platform is you're activating your passive talent, and we're also turning on all of your contacts into digital recruiters. So if you think about how many people do you have that are on contract right now, maybe you have 200 people out in the field right now for whatever industry you're in. Our goal is to turn those 200 people into digital commission-only recruiters on your behalf, so that you have people out there spreading the word and referring people into your program. And we found this to be a great way to source smarter. Additionally, getting job opportunities in front of talent faster. When it comes to sourcing, speed to market is everything. And there's a few tools that we have here and that CCS and other staffing firms are using to make sure they're getting out in front of their competition faster. So Staff Up app will give you a fully branded mobile application so that you can then send direct messages to your talent about new job opportunities. And really, this is a great way to kind of bridge the gap of the communication between you and your talent. Everybody might be sending emails out, but this allows you to actually send direct push notifications through their phone directly to the talent, and allows you to kind of differentiate your brand by having a mobile branded app. Additionally, with TextUs, you can send group broadcasts out so say you have a new job that comes online that you have to fill this week. It's a super critical job, comes online on Monday. You can send that out to 1,000 people via text message all at once with personalization to make sure it gets in front of all of the right people at the right time. And then lastly, there are companies that are using Herefish to send emails out and to automate sending those jobs out to your talent pool to make sure that all of those jobs are hitting people on an ongoing basis. So additionally, now moving into kind of the sourcing and qualification side of things, you can also collect and pre-screen information from potential candidates. And this is another way to kind of reduce administrative work, but also allow your recruiters to focus on what they do best in terms of building relationships, making sure you're automating the work that they don't need to be doing. And then lastly, you can also provide comprehensive and transparent information on opportunities so that candidates can have their initial questions answered during their research phase. And what we're going to talk about here specifically is Wanderly. Wanderly is a tool that is for the specific, it's a alternative sourcing tool specifically for healthcare staffing. It's kind of similar to like the kayak of staffing in terms of job boards. But really it's a more transparent way to get the right information in front of your talent and to make sure that when they apply that they're qualified. And lastly, when we talk about sourcing, a lot of times we don't really think about renewals. And I know this is something that a lot of companies are kind of waking up to and starting to focus on more. But there's a couple aspects here. So one, when you reach out to a talent, you set up an interview, the first thing they're going to do is go out and Google your company name. They're going to look at what is their Google rating, what are their Glassdoor rating, is this a staffing firm that I trust and want to work with? Great Recruiters is a tool that will help you make sure your reputation is what you need it to be and that you're putting your best foot forward out of the gate. So it's going to help you on the sourcing with new talent, but then it's also going to help on the renewal side of things because you're going to identify issues with candidates before they become a real problem. So it's going to help you with real-time reviews and help you on the renewal and sourcing side of things. So with that, I'm going to pass it off to Travis Arnold with Herefish.
Cool. Thanks, Dave. Hi, everyone. I'm Travis, like Dave said, with a company called Herefish, recently acquired by Bullhorn. So we are technically a Bullhorn company now. One of the things that I think automation is poised to tackle head on is the admin work and that busy work that happens every day in a staffing firm. So an internal mantra is busy work is the enemy of productivity. And we actually have a current customer that, we'll show here in a second that basically took the activity of their best recruiter and recruiters and salespeople and automated those processes. So they had this, workflow that passed throughout different people and sometimes got dropped, sometimes didn't. And what they were able to do is automate those processes and standardize it throughout the entire recruiting cycle. So we really help them solve problems that fall into three buckets that kind of right in our wheelhouse, which are communication problems, productivity problems, and data health problems. And that's with Personify. So we'll dive right in here. So, one of the big things that we've talked about is the workflow. And automation, again, is really poised to tackle that. When you think about competition, you think about candidate experience, think of all the touch points that happen from the minute somebody's sourced all the way to them being hired. And so really what we do is create a high touch throughout that entire recruiting cycle. So that's, emails, it's text messages, it's surveys asking for feedback and NPS scores. And so that's where, we internally at Herefish and then with other partners like TextUs can kind of automate those communications kind of outbound. Secondly is we try to remove the inefficiencies from that kind of mental Rolodex. So how many people have, a recruiter like, oh, I know a guy, or I know a person, I know my old boss, I could get them, as a referral or get a review from them. What happens is those things fall off. So there's no systematic way to tackle that. And what we kind of try to be is the glue that can combine some of these marketplace partners together. So a quick example is we get a satisfaction score of a 10. That's good. And we want to ask for a review and a referral at the same time. So that can trigger via the ATS or via Herefish. We can send that messages out and kind of prompt those automations to occur. So it's another efficiency. Again, it's taking that busy work and those things that slip through the cracks or don't happen at all, and then put them on a path. Thirdly, we're talking about workflows again, but we can pull in different methods of outreach. So we talked about TextUs a little bit before, but here's a quick use case. So, first day of a job, let's send a text message that morning. Herefish or an automation tool can initiate that outbound transactional text. And then if that candidate kind of comes back in, like, oh, it actually has a question, it goes right to that recruiter's desk. You have that one-to-one example, which flows in nicely to the kind of the next point. So that one-to-one interaction is actually facilitated, kind of with automation, with a tool like Herefish, but really any automation tool that can kind of facilitate that outbound messaging to create that one-to-one interaction. One bucket we want to touch on too is kind of the data health side. So if all 1,000 of you are in a room and I ask hold up the hands of everybody who has great data, it'd probably be a pretty short a list of hands in the air. So with Herefish and our tools and our kind of processes, we're able to help you improve accuracy. So you can update data, you can set data, you can clear data, you can copy data from one record to another across entities. You could find bad records. So a good use case and a good example on Herefish.com is, basically find bad emails and find bad phone numbers, and let's try to get those updated. And then we could keep data active by automatically doing data refresh tasks. So David talked about pre-screens. Well, we can also use that same kind of methodology to pull in new resumes and parse that information directly into the ATS. So every 12 months, every 6 months, you could have an automation trigger to ask for new and updated data. And as we wrap up here, so repetitive work sucks. It's just not fun. And so you think about, okay, again, we've talked about Wanderly. David Dean's going to talk about that a little bit more here in a bit. But basically, it takes a lot of the mundane, repetitive work that you're doing and puts it on autopilot. So any tool you use, I don't care if it's us or any of the marketplace partners here, find the things that are automated or repetitive and automate them. It's needless work. It's not productive, and their time sucks. And so when we wrap it up here, essentially, we want to take your best recruiters and your best salespeople. We want to clone their activity, because your best recruiters and salespeople are always following up. They're always adding notes. They're always adding tasks. They're always making sure the data quality and the fields are updated correctly. And so that's really what we want to leave you with is, if you think about automation, it's not going to take your jobs. It's going to enhance the jobs that you already have and put everything on autopilot. So you can learn more at herefish.com. And with that, I'm going to kick it over to my man, Josh.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Travis. I'm going to be tackling a challenge that's quite near and dear to my heart, having worked at TextUs for over 3 years now, which is we know getting a hold of those candidates is extremely difficult. It's getting more difficult by the day, and speed to market is absolutely crucial. And speed to market isn't just crucial for getting in front of candidates. It's also going to make our recruiters a much more efficient function of our organization. And I don't think there's really a better example of this than with LoyalSource. TextUs has been lucky enough to work with LoyalSource for a number of years now, and I really just love this quote from Seth Fullerton, who's their director of IT, because it doesn't just highlight how powerful and impactful response rates really can be, especially when we're comparing them to traditional channels like phone call and email, but it makes our recruiters so much more productive, and we're able to find candidates much quicker as well. They were able to get as high as cutting the time it took to find candidates down to a third, as well as almost increase productivity 2 times. So I love this quote from David, and I think it really just encapsulates how difficult it is, but what a competitive advantage it can be for your organization when you're able to achieve that. And the first way to do this, and this is why you see all 4 components of the talent lifecycle covered here, which is implementing a multi-channel communication strategy. No one candidate wants to be heard from in the same way, And not all candidates want to be heard from the same way at every step of the journey, right? We need to be actively analyzing and documenting at what stages of the journey is the communication method the most effective, and then put that into a playbook and make sure that that's in the hands of every single one of our recruiters. Because it's very different the way that I communicate when I'm sourcing with a candidate for the first time as I am with a candidate that I may have already placed into 4 or 5 or 6 different contracts. And that's why, again, personalization is so key at all 4 areas of the life cycle methodology and really every single step of the candidate journey. If we're not personalizing our text messages, we're really missing out on an opportunity, especially on some of those more high volume communication methods. If we're sending blasts out, if we're sending a text campaign out, we really need to be ensuring that we're personalizing those. It's going to help more response rates and help us get our candidates across the journey faster. And if we want to be effective at communication, we have to measure it, strategize around it, and then ultimately take action on it. And that's how we're going to be able to scale out an effective communication strategy. Similar to what I was saying earlier about how you have to be documenting and analyzing which communication is most effective of every method, the only way we can do that is by tracking it and by measuring it. We need to have deep and robust analytics that we're using to evaluate the ROI on every single one of our softwares. Herefish is a great way to do this in conjunction with TextUs, and again, should be something that should be done at every single stage, not just the top or the bottom of the funnel. I'm going to focus a little bit more on the sourcing and the renewing side here, and I want to talk about low-hanging fruit. The lowest hanging fruit we have is our existing network. We spend so much time putting candidates into our ATS, and we know that they're very hard to reach. If we're spending all that time harvesting that relationship, let's be effective on that. Let's make sure that we're using those active networks to create more and more leads so that we can not only close more business, but talk to more candidates. Staffing referrals is a phenomenal way to do this, as David had already talked about. It's a great way to turn your contractors into an army of commissioned recruiters. And Wanderly, there's really no other company that does it better than Wanderly as far as getting transparent information out and comprehensive assignment information and ensuring that that candidate already knows exactly what they need to know about the job before having to be introduced to a recruiter. Moving over to the Qualify side, I'm going to speak to another aspect of Wanderly's incredible technology, which is allowing you to be much more targeted with your posting strategies, which is obviously going to make it easier to get a hold of people. Not only is this going to help you get a hold of people quicker, it's going to help you find more qualified candidates. When we use wide-ranging applications, it's going to allow us to attract a much larger pool. And more importantly, it's going to eliminate that friction in the application process. As Travis just said a few minutes ago from Herefish too, the more that we're able to eliminate friction on that side, the more time we can enable our army of recruiters to be doing what they do best, which is getting in front of candidates. And I think we spent a good amount of time on this, but I do want to talk about this from the placement angle. The more manual tasks we can take away from recruiters on the placement side when the work is already done, the more powerful our recruiting team is going to be. Just like in the sales world, once a sale is done, we don't want that salesperson getting caught up in collecting the invoice, issuing the invoice, and then ensuring that we're collecting all of those payments down the road. We can use that technology to do that and not waste our recruiters' time when they could be getting in front of more candidates. Again, I know you guys know that Herefish does this extremely well, as Travis mentioned, and Wanderly's really going to help do this from the qualification standpoint. And again, because they're so transparent with their information, it's not a guessing game for candidates. When they get to the end of the process, they already know exactly what to expect, and we're able to deliver on those expectations. So now as we bring up Challenge 4, I'm going to kick it over to a really great partner of ours, Adam Conrad from Great Recruiters. Adam, go ahead and take it away, my friend.
Hey, thanks, Josh. Really appreciate it. Adam Conrad here, founder of Great Recruiters, and going to be discussing the 4th challenge. kind of that negative recruiter reputation, that bad rap that exists in the industry. And it's an issue that all firms in all industries, sectors and staffing are faced with. And this is something that's near and dear to me as I've experienced this firsthand. I've had 20 years of staffing experience. I cut my teeth as a recruiter, and I have managed recruitment teams and was running the operations for a mid-sized staffing firm. And the reality is, as you talk about all these tools to help you connect with talent out there, those poor reputations that exist automatically create barriers. These poor reputations make the initial conversations more difficult, and people really don't know who they can trust you or if they can trust you as a recruiter. And if you just simply Google recruiters are, these are not my words, but the results are a little painful. I think evil liar, waste of time are some of the top results that you see. And really my experience has been much, much different. From the recruiters that I worked with, the way that I believe I ran my desk and looking at our clients that use great recruiters, I know this is not true. And really I left that career to address and solve this challenge directly. We don't live in a world anymore with what you say matters. People trust what others say about you. And unfortunately for many firms, their online reputation is not good. You can't sit back and wait for a bad review to come in. 72% of the candidates who've had a bad experience share it online and with friends and colleagues. And so Great Recruiters is an active reputation management platform that really puts you in control of your feedback and reviews. We provide you a simple way to capture, measure, act on, and promote real-time reviews and testimonials on your website and across social, company and recruiter profiles to help increase that transparency and trust from that first contact, and be able to share those great reviews and feedback with all those served. So let's talk a little bit about how active reputation management can help your firm. Here's a case study we did with PeopleLink Group, and really the results were amazing. PeopleLink wanted to make sure that the recruiters were creating the absolute best experience for those they served. It's what they promised, but they weren't measuring it. So with using Great Recruiters, they simply asked for real-time feedback from the talent they work with and they placed, and they saw a 50% increase in retention of the placed talent. And over 70% of the referrals generated through Great Recruiters were placed. So why is this? The reality is when you say you're going to create a great experience and then measure how you're doing it, it creates more trust and transparency with the talent that you're engaging with. The more that people trust you, the more referrals they're going to provide. In my experience, as we talked about, referrals are the best compliment you can give a recruiter and the best source for placements. So kind of moving on, let's discuss a little bit about active reputation management, how it can make sure that your firm does not get a bad rap. The reality is you need to be leveraging positive ratings and testimonials to help separate your firm from the industry perception. It's so important that the information about your firm, it's not from your voice, it's from the voice of the people that you serve. So when people are looking for your firm online, what story is really being told? And so Great Recruiters helps you to really help curate that story. And the first thing that you need to do, whether you use a tool like Great Recruiters or another, is you need to take an active role in collecting real-time feedback from the candidates and clients you serve. You can't just be focused on the people where you have the win, just those placements. You need to be measuring that from all aspects of that candidate life cycle. And it's really important to measure what you're promising. I don't know of any firm out there that promises to create a poor experience. But if we're all doing such a great job, why would the industry have such a bad rap? So it's really important to measure that and solicit that real-time feedback. And not only capturing the feedback is important, but you need to be able to take action on it, right? You have to go ahead and thank those people who gave you a positive review. Okay. It helps you identify issues and resolve them before they become problems. So when you take an active role, you're not just sitting in the back seat waiting for a review to hit an online site. It's coming directly to you as a firm, and you're able to take action immediately. And taking action allows you to share those positive testimonials on your website, across social. You want to be able to share all the good stuff that's happening. And so moving on, we can also talk about how you can automate that positive review follow-up. And really, when somebody has a great experience, we talked about those who have a bad experience, they're trying to get it off their chest. They're going to go ahead and post it online. The people who have a great experience, unless you ask them to, typically they're not going to go ahead and post that information. And so through Great Recruiters, you can automate that positive review follow-up to leverage those positive reviews and feedback. You can get the people out there that are fans of your brand to go ahead and rave about their reviews on social and other third-party sites. We can help you to go ahead and automate the ask of saying, hey, thanks so much for that great review. Would you mind sharing this on Google? As it was mentioned earlier, when somebody is searching for your firm, they're not just calling you right back, right? They're doing research. And this goes back to, the power of those online reviews and the influence it has, whether or not they're going to call you back or call the competitor down the road. So all of this comes together, all of these leads, to improving your reputation. Those who trust you will refer their friends, and with a referral management platform like Staffing Referrals, you can encourage those promoters, encourage your talent to become brand ambassadors, become an extension of your recruitment team. And the reality is, people want to refer people to those who trust. And so this will help you continue to build that referral network out there. So to recap, don't leave your reputation to chance. You need to take an active role to measure, act on, and promote real-time feedback from all of those that you serve. And up next here to talk about our next challenge is David Dean with Wanderly.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Today we're going to talk a little bit about candidates and talent don't have transparency from their staffing firms. And it's a perfect transition. Thank you, Adam, for all the information you provided us. But I'm going to talk about transparency and a little bit about Wanderly as well. When we started Wanderly, we did a ton of research with nurses, with travel nurses, with travel healthcare professionals, and everyone said the most important thing to me is having a transparent experience from a staffing company standpoint. Historically, staffing companies operate in a very salesy environment, withhold information to test to see if a candidate is really serious about the job, et cetera, et cetera. Now, fast forward to the digitization of our industry, candidates want to engage with our companies and the great staffing companies that we build, but they want to engage with them and be educated about what the information that all that great stuff that our staffing companies put together, all these great pay packages. Candidates want to know that when they're shopping around. And Wanderly helps candidates do that. It helps candidates understand exactly what your offering is. So when they're engaging with your recruiters, they're not worried about trying to pry information out of the recruiter. They're educated. And then when you add that transparency, something magical happens. That recruiter and that nurse are able to connect, talk transparently, understand all the stuff they're talking about, and build a relationship very quickly. We can move on to the next slide now, and I'll talk about TotalMed. One of the companies that we work with very early on, TotalMed is an early adopter of Wanderly, and they embraced the digital mindset. And they've embraced this digital mindset all throughout their company. And what happened was their recruiters started placing nurses a lot faster because they got all of the pay package information the nurses got all the pay package information on the front end. The nurses filled out all the applications. So when a recruiter would receive that information, the recruiter is able to submit that information with Wanderly within 20 to 30 minutes, adding speed. And what happens when you add speed and you remove all these inefficiencies from this process that historically has been pretty inefficient, you get faster placements. What happens when you have faster placements? You get more nurses. What happens when you get more nurses? More nurses talk about that great experience that they had with TotalMed, and this is exactly what's happened with TotalMed. So we can break down and move into Great Recruiters, Wanderly, and a little bit more about Staffing Referrals and how these three platforms really lead with transparency and help you grow your staffing company. So Great Recruiters, part of the digitization of our industry is getting feedback. Historically, we build our systems and our companies to what we want, right? We build the company. Now, in 2020, we build these companies based on what our candidates want. We look at feedback. Okay, did this person have a great experience with us? Did this person do this? What was the good, bad, and the ugly, right? And then we rebuild these processes to be more efficient, more candidate driven, and better. And this is what Great Recruiters does. And that's why I'm really excited about Great Recruiters, because they enable your company to get that feedback so you can look at the tough parts of the process and fix those parts. So when a nurse engages with you, there is no humps in the road, there's no issues, your recruiters are empowered with data, and everybody wins at that point. And at the end of the day, more placements for everybody is what we're all chasing anyway. So we can move on to the next slide, and we'll talk a little bit more about Wanderly. But back to Wanderly, transparent pay packages is everything. When a nurse is shopping around, everybody knows today it is a very noisy world out there. Nurses are shopping around on Facebook, candidates are looking on Glassdoor, candidates are looking on Google, and all these different places. And all these different places have different data sets. Wanderly brings all that data together and provides that nurse with a transparent pay package so they can understand exactly what they're getting. They can understand what the staffing companies are offering, and they can engage with your staffing company in a meaningful way, which is in a meaningful way when they want that information. Our technology is built to tee up that moment when a nurse is looking for an assignment or a candidate is looking for an assignment. It tees up that moment so they look at all the information that you're offering, the first day benefits, pay packages, all those great things that you build into your process, and they come and they engage with your company and immediately want to engage. Because why? Because they're transparent, and that transparency to us equals trust from a nurse candidate standpoint. And then lastly, I'll talk a little bit about staffing referrals and what transparency and talent transparency means to them. When you have, like Dave spoke about earlier, when you empower your entire referral source workforce with data, and so they can understand how to get more referrals, how to bring more people to the table, you're going to win all day long. If I had a dime for every staffing leader or owner that told me my best source of referrals, my best source of candidates is referrals. And staffing referrals technology takes that and empowers those people that are referring people to your company left and right, and it empowers them with data so they can understand, okay, I've sent this referral out to this person, I've sent this referral out to this person. And like everything in the world today, if what we don't know, we don't know. If they know how many referrals are sitting in their phone, they're going to send that out to everybody in their phone, and they're just going to have more and more candidates coming into the pipeline. So at the end of the day, what I want to say to everybody, number one, thank you for joining us on the call today. But if you're not being transparent as a staffing company in 2020 and beyond, you're going to be falling behind. And this tech stack was designed really to help you all win more. And that's what it's all about. I'll pass it back to Josh now. And thanks again for everybody joining us today.
Thanks again, David, and really just thanks again to all the panelists here. We spent a number of weeks putting this together, and it's really great to hear everybody's insights and thoughts on all the challenges that we're all facing and we're all trying to solve. And I think we probably can all agree on this key takeaway. I think it was mentioned by every single one of the panelists, and I think it's a universal truth in our industry, which is if you're not going to embrace the digital transformation, you're going to get left behind. And if you're not actively thinking about digital transformation and ways to optimize every single one of your business functions across your entire organization, if you're not actively evaluating software right now, or you're not actively thinking about how your software should be talking to each other, and more importantly, how we can tie every single piece of our business back to our ATS, so again, that we can track, measure, analyze, and optimize all of that data to utilize software and technology to the best of its capability. And just to really wrap things up from a high level, again, we must execute on a multi-channel communication strategy, and we have to apply that to every aspect of the journey. I know I've said it before, it's an exercise that every single staffing firm should have gone through or be going through, which is what communication methods are most important at every single life cycle of my journey, so that I'm ensuring that I'm not only optimizing that candidate experience, but I'm not dropping the ball on it. And automating communication is going to ensure that I don't drop the ball on that. And using a tool like Herefish is going to ensure that every manual piece of that talent life cycle, is taken out, and that recruiters are doing what they do best. Again, automating your recruiter reviews and feedback and referral program. If you're not doing this, the competitor next to you is taking your lead straight from Google when they typed in staffing company in their area. By not using a program or an automated referral program like Staffing Referrals, you're leaving so much business on the table and really at the part of their lowest hanging fruit. Ideally, those actively placed contractors and workers should be the easiest ones that we can reach out to and should be the easiest source of revenue for every single one of our recruiters. And we can also do that through getting feedback like great recruiters and opening up that transparency and ensure that we're getting that feedback and executing on that feedback and turning those insights into actionable items for each of our recruiters. We have to ensure that we're providing a branded mobile app so that candidates at any time on their terms can interact with my business and get the information that they need immediately without having to necessarily talk to a recruiter. And lastly, we have to make sure a candidate experience is seamless and efficient. We have to ensure that our recruiters never even think about looking elsewhere because we're always providing transparent information, especially when it comes to the most important piece, pay packages. We have to ensure that we're giving comprehensive assignment info, and we have to really ensure we're not leaving any candidates off the table because we don't have our applications range wide enough. And so really, with that, I just can't say thank you enough to everybody for joining us today. And again, a huge thank you to all of the panelists today for providing a really great discussion, and really hope that everybody got a chance to take some insights away. Just a couple of housekeeping items before I wrap up. You should have received the poll notification from our team. There is an active poll that's going on. So before you drop off, please make sure that you attend that or answer those. A couple poll questions, won't take more than a few seconds. We're going to be able to take that data and put that into some actionable insights for you guys. And so with that, on behalf of TextUs, I just want to say thank you again for joining. I can't reiterate enough, if you have not had a chance to interact with your account manager from TextUs to learn how staffing companies in our awesome community are utilizing click-to-dial and voice together with their texting communication, please do so, as well as make sure that you please reach out about upgrading to our new platform, which is TextUs Next. I'm going to leave everybody with one last slide. I know we're going to be sending this out to everybody, but take a screenshot of this. This is just a reminder of what each of our awesome partners in TextUs' marketplace and ecosystem do, along with the leader at each software's contact information. They're all available to be texted or emailed at any time, and they're all looking forward to hearing from you. With that, again, I want to say thank you. We are extremely, extremely excited for what 2020 has to bring and all the changes that are going to be taking place in our industry. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your Friday, and I hope you all have a great weekend. With that, we're going to open things up for questions. There are a few questions that have already come in through the chat that we're more than happy to address live. But please, I believe we still have a number of folks still on the line. Feel free to throw out those questions and we can address them to the group. Okay, let's do that. So the first question that we have. Awesome. So the first question that we had to the group is actually related to great recruiters. So I'm probably going to let Adam take a hold of this one. Adam, the question was, how does great recruiters integrate with the ATS and automate emails so it doesn't add to recruiters' admin work?
Yeah, definitely. Excited. We're Bullhorn. We've been a Bullhorn developer partner for the past 2 years, and our final steps of being the marketplace partner. So our integration with Bullhorn really automates that solicitation process. So it's really simple to set up note actions in Bullhorn and identify those as the trigger. We don't want you focused on spending the time collecting that feedback. We want that to be automated. We want your recruiters focused on, talking about the feedback, building those relationships. So with that Bullhorn automation, we automate that solicitation process, and there's no work needed on behalf of the recruiters.
Awesome.
This
Thanks
is
so
David
much for that.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, David, it sounds like the next question was directed at you, so I'll let you address the question and answer it.
I'll answer the Wonderly question and then I'll answer the communication fatigue question. Wonderly is only set up for healthcare and nursing recruitment right now, but there are plans to expand out into other staffing industries mid-2020. If anyone wants to shoot me an email, we have a list of people that we'll be reaching out to for beta for that program. So I can take care of that. And then the other great question on communication fatigue, from what I've learned from running a staffing company for 15 years and now at Wonderly, is really thinking about what you're sending out to the user, putting yourself in the candidate's shoes, and using all these tools that we talked about today to analyze your communication strategy. Watch the numbers, make sure that people aren't, if you send 3 messages in 3 days, watch the number of people that are disengaging with the TextUs tool, with Staffing Referrals tool, and just really analyzing that data that's coming in, and then refining your techniques as far as communication. But always start with putting yourself in the person's shoes and making sure your recruiters and your team is not over communicating.
Awesome. Thanks so much for that answer, David. Looks like we've got one more question. Is there an ATS that all of these companies integrate with? As far as TextUs goes, we integrate with just about every major ATS that is in the market today, including custom integrations that a lot of our enterprise level staffing firms will employ. I think can safely say for most of the folks on the line, Bullhorn, we are all fully integrated with, and a lot of the other ATSs that are out there. If you do have a specific ATS that you're interested that you're using that you'd like to inquire about, please feel free to reach out to myself or any one of our awesome partners, and we can answer that for you. Guys, we still have about 5 minutes left. I do still see that there's a good amount of people on the line, and wanted to say, if you do still have questions, please ask. We'll give everybody 30 more seconds to ask the last question before we wrap things up for the day.
And Josh, as we're waiting for those questions, there was one other question. Is Andrew from TextUs real? And I can confirm that Andrew is a real person.
Andrew Kimmel is in fact a very real person. And yes, there was a comment that JobAdder is a great innovative ATS. They do partner with TextUs as well. All right, I think that probably does it for questions, it looks like, guys. So one last time, wanted to say thanks again for everybody. Like I had said earlier, we are just extremely excited about what 2020 is going to bring to our industry, and we think we're in a great place to transform that industry. So hope you all have a wonderful rest of your Fridays. Thanks so much for joining, and hope you all have a wonderful weekend.
Thanks, everyone.